Most people believe their problems come from what happens to them. In reality, their problems come from how they react to what happens. Life will always present pressure, opposition, criticism, delay, and disappointment. These are not exceptions. They are guarantees. The difference between a life of chaos and a life of control is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of self-mastery. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, impulsively, and defensively, everything begins to change. Reaction is automatic. It is driven by emotion, fear, ego, and insecurity. Reaction gives power away. When someone can control your emotions, they control your direction. Many people sabotage their own future, not because of their enemies, but because of their reactions. A careless word, a rash decision, an emotional response can undo years of discipline. Reaction feels justified in the moment, but it is expensive in the long term. When you stop reacting, you create space between stimulus and response. In that space, wisdom lies. That space allows you to think instead of explode, to observe instead of argue, to choose instead of panic. Calmness is not weakness, it is evidence of strength. A person who does not react is not passive, they are powerful. They have learned that not everything deserves a response, and not every voice deserves attention. Non-reaction does not mean you accept disrespect or tolerate injustice. It means you refuse to let chaos dictate your behavior. It means you respond with intention, not emotion. A response is deliberate. A reaction is reckless. When you respond, you are in control. When you react, you are being controlled. When you stop reacting, people lose access to your buttons. Manipulation stops working. Provocation loses its power. Drama dries up. Many conflicts survive only because of reaction. Remove the reaction, and the fire dies on its own. Silence, composure, and restraint expose immaturity without you saying a word. Your calm becomes a mirror that reveals others' instability. Everything changes internally first. Your mind becomes clearer. Your energy stops leaking into unnecessary battles. Your confidence deepens because it no longer depends on proving anything. You stop needing validation. You stop explaining yourself. You stop defending your worth. Inner peace becomes your default state, not a temporary escape. Then everything changes externally. Relationships improve or realign. Opportunities increase because people trust those who are stable under pressure. Leadership emerges naturally because people follow those who remain steady when others panic. Your decisions become sharper, your progress faster, and your life quieter but more powerful. The highest level of maturity is emotional discipline. The strongest people are not the loudest, angriest, or most reactive. They are the ones who can stand in the middle of pressure and remain unmoved. When you master your reactions, you master your direction. And when you master your direction, your future finally begins to obey you. Most people live under the illusion that their lives are controlled by circumstances. They believe that external events, other people's behavior, or unexpected problems have the final say over their emotions and decisions. In truth, circumstances only gain authority when we surrender our self-control through reaction. The moment you react emotionally, impulsively, or defensively, hand over the leadership of your life to whatever triggered you. Reaction is not strength, it is surrender. Restraint, on the other hand, restores authority to the self and places you back in command of your direction. Reaction is fast, unfiltered, and emotional. It bypasses wisdom and moves straight into impulse. When someone insults you and you immediately respond with anger, they have successfully controlled you. When pressure causes panic, pressure becomes your master. When fear forces rush decisions, fear becomes your leader. In each case, the authority has shifted away from you and into the hands of circumstances. Many people lose opportunities, relationships, and peace not because of the situation itself, but because of how they reacted to it. Circumstances do not ruin lives, ungoverned reactions do. Restraint is often misunderstood as weakness, silence, or passivity. In reality, restraint is the highest form of self-governance. It is the ability to pause, evaluate, and choose a response that aligns with purpose rather than emotion. Restraint says, I will not allow this moment to define my behavior. It is the refusal to let external chaos create internal disorder. A restrained person is not indifferent. They are intentional. They understand that authority begins within, not around them. When you practice restraint, you reclaim ownership of your mind. Your thoughts stop racing, your emotions settle, and clarity emerges. Instead of being pulled in multiple directions by every comment, delay, or disappointment, you become centered. This inner stability allows you to see situations as they truly are, not as your emotions paint them. From that position, decisions become wiser, actions become measured, and outcomes become favorable. Restraint creates the space where intelligence and discernment can operate freely. Authority over self is the foundation of leadership in every area of life. Leaders who react emotionally lose credibility. They create instability and confusion. Those who exercise restraint inspire confidence and trust. People are naturally drawn to individuals who remain calm under pressure because calmness signals control. When you do not react, you communicate strength without words. Your composure becomes a language that others understand immediately. Circumstances test authority by applying pressure. Pressure exposes what governs you. If stress dictates your behavior, stress is your ruler. If criticism determines your mood, opinions rule you. If delay causes frustration and anger, time has authority over you. Restraint reverses this dynamic. It declares that your identity, values, and purpose are not negotiable under pressure. You remain consistent, regardless of what surrounds you. Over time, restraint reshapes your entire life. Conflicts decrease because you no longer feed them with reaction. Manipulation fails because your emotions are no longer accessible. Your energy is preserved for meaningful pursuits instead of wasted on unnecessary battles. Peace becomes sustainable rather than temporary. Most importantly, your confidence deepens because it no longer depends on controlling situations, but on controlling yourself. When authority is restored to the self, circumstances lose their power to intimidate, provoke, or derail. You start living in response mode and start living in command mode. Life does not become easier, but you become stronger. The external world may remain unpredictable, but your internal world becomes stable. That stability is true power. When you stop reacting, you stop giving authority away. When you practice restraint, you reclaim the throne of your own life. Calmness under pressure is not accidental, nor is it a personality trait reserved for a few. It is evidence of internal governance, the ability to lead oneself, regardless of external conditions. Pressure is a universal experience. It comes through deadlines, conflict, uncertainty, loss, criticism, and responsibility. Everyone feels it, but not everyone is ruled by it. What separates strength from instability is not the absence of pressure, but the presence of inner order. When a person remains calm, while everything around them is demanding a reaction, they demonstrate that something within them is firmly in control. Pressure reveals leadership. When systems are weak, pressure causes collapse. When systems are strong, pressure produces focus. The same principle applies to the human mind. A person without internal governance becomes overwhelmed, reactive, and scattered. Under stress, emotions rise, judgment falls, and decisions become impulsive. Calmness, however, signals that the mind is structured, priorities are clear, and emotions are regulated. It shows that the individual is not being driven by fear or urgency, but by purpose and understanding. Internal governance begins with self-awareness. A calm person recognizes their emotional signals without being consumed by them. They feel anxiety without allowing it to dictate action. They acknowledge frustration without letting it poison behavior. This awareness creates distance between feeling and action. And in that distance, wisdom operates. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. It is the decision to remain steady even when the internal alarm is sounding. Many mistake calmness for lack of concern, but true calmness is deeply engaged. It listens carefully, processes information accurately, and responds precisely under pressure. A calm individual does not rush to prove, defend, or dominate. They focus on resolution, not reaction. Their stability becomes an anchor for others who are overwhelmed. This is why calm people often emerge as leaders in crisis. People trust those who are not controlled by the chaos they are trying to manage. Internal governance also requires discipline. Calmness under pressure is the result of practiced restraint over time. It is built through habits of reflection, intentional thinking, and emotional regulation. Just as a city requires laws to function smoothly, the mind requires boundaries. Without discipline, pressure finds every weakness and exploits it. With discipline, pressure is absorbed, filtered, and redirected into productive action. Calmness, therefore, is not spontaneous, it is cultivated. When internal governance is present, external pressure loses its power to destabilize. Circumstances may still be intense, but they no longer determine identity or direction. A governed mind understands that pressure is temporary, but consequences of poor decisions can be permanent. This understanding slows the pace, sharpens judgment, and preserves integrity. Calmness allows one to choose the long-term benefit over the short-term emotional release. Over time, this internal stability transforms relationships, performance, and influence. Conflicts are handled with maturity. Challenges are approached strategically. Others begin to rely on the calm individual for clarity and direction. Opportunities increase because trust follows stability. Calmness communicates reliability, competence, and strength without a single word being spoken. Ultimately, calmness under pressure is proof that the individual is not ruled by circumstances, opinions, or fear. It shows that leadership begins within. When the internal world is ordered, the external world can be navigated with confidence. Pressure will always come, but it does not have to command. Those who govern themselves remain calm. And those who remain calm remain in control. Not every provocation deserves your energy. Yet many people spend their lives exhausted because they respond to everything. Every comment, every criticism, every delay, and every disagreement pulls at their emotions until nothing is left for what truly matters. Energy is a limited resource. Where you invest it determines the direction of your life. When you give your energy to provocation, you empower distraction and weaken focus. Wisdom begins when you understand that restraint is not avoidance, but strategic conservation. Provocation is designed to pull you out of alignment. It seeks to interrupt your peace, distract you from purpose, and drag you into unnecessary conflict. Many provocations are intentional, meant to test reactions or trigger emotional responses. Others are unintentional, born of insecurity, misunderstanding, or immaturity. Regardless of the source, the effect is the same if you engage without discernment. The moment you respond emotionally, provocation has succeeded. You have allowed something external to dictate your internal state. Energy wasted on provocation produces nothing of value. Arguments rarely create growth. Defensiveness rarely creates understanding. Anger rarely creates solution. Yet people continue to react because reaction feels justified. Silence feels uncomfortable. Walking away feels like weakness. In truth, the strongest response is often no response at all. Choosing not to engage is not surrender, it is leadership over self. It communicates that your focus is too valuable to be diverted. When you stop reacting to every provocation, clarity increases. You begin to see patterns. You recognize which voices matter and which exist only to create noise. You understand that not every opinion deserves consideration, and not every challenge requires confrontation. This discernment protects your mind. It allows you to operate from intention rather than impulse. You begin to respond only when alignment, timing, and purpose demand it. Provocation feeds on emotional availability. When people realize they cannot access your emotions easily, they stop trying. Manipulation loses its effectiveness. Drama loses its audience. Conflict fades when it is not fueled. Calmness becomes your shield. Silence becomes your boundary. Without raising your voice or proving your strength, you establish authority simply by refusing to be moved. Energy preserved becomes energy invested. When you stop spending emotional energy on trivial matters, you gain capacity for growth, creativity, and discipline. Your mind becomes sharper. Your work improves. Your decisions become more thoughtful. Peace is no longer something you seek after chaos. It becomes your operating system. This shift changes the quality of your life because it changes the quality of your attention. There is also dignity in restraint. Constant reaction diminishes presence. It makes a person predictable and emotionally exposed. Restraint, however, creates depth. It communicates maturity and confidence. People sense when someone is not easily shaken. That stability commands respect without demanding it. Silence, when chosen intentionally, often speaks louder than any argument. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some battles drain without rewarding. Some conversations reduce rather than elevate. Understanding this is a sign of wisdom, not indifference. You are not obligated to attend every conflict you are invited to. You are not required to explain yourself to every critic. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. Your responsibility is to protect your purpose. When you learn to ignore provocation, your life becomes quieter but more powerful. Focus replaces frustration. Progress replaces noise. You stop reacting to what is beneath you and start responding to what is ahead of you. In that discipline, energy is preserved, peace is protected, and direction is secured. Not every provocation deserves your energy, and the moment you accept this truth, your life begins to move with greater strength and clarity. Emotional discipline precedes personal advancement because growth demands stability before it grants expansion. Many people desire progress, success, and influence, yet remain unprepared to handle the pressure that comes with it. Advancement magnifies whatever already exists within a person. If emotions are undisciplined, progress becomes dangerous rather than beneficial. Emotional discipline is not about suppressing feelings. It is about governing them so they serve purpose instead of sabotaging it. Emotions are powerful indicators, but poor leaders. When emotions control decisions, consistency disappears. Motivation rises and falls, focus scatters, and commitment weakens. A person may start strong, but collapse under frustration, criticism, or delay. Advancement requires endurance, and endurance is impossible without emotional regulation. Those who lack discipline react to obstacles as if they are endings, while those who possess it see obstacles as instructions. Every new level introduces new pressure. Increased responsibility brings increased exposure, expectation, and resistance. Without emotional discipline, these pressures trigger fear, ego, or impatience. Fear causes hesitation. Ego invites conflict. Impatience leads to shortcuts. All three slow progress or reverse entirely. Emotional discipline creates the capacity to remain steady while navigating uncertainty. It allows a person to make decisions based on vision rather than momentary discomfort. Many opportunities are lost not because of lack of talent, but because of emotional instability. A single outburst can damage credibility. A defensive response can close doors. An inability to handle feedback can halt growth. Emotional discipline protects reputation. It enables a person to receive correction without resentment, delay without despair, and success without arrogance. Advancement requires trust, and trust is built on emotional reliability. Self-control is the foundation of self-improvement. A person who cannot manage their reactions cannot manage their habits. Discipline in emotion produces discipline in action. It strengthens focus, sharpens judgment, and sustains effort. When emotions are governed, energy is directed toward progress rather than conflict. Time is spent building instead of recovering from emotional damage. Emotional discipline also refines perspective. It helps distinguish between temporary discomfort and permanent failure. Many people quit too early because their emotions misinterpret resistance as rejection. Discipline teaches patience. It allows a person to endure seasons that do not yet show results. Growth often happens quietly before it becomes visible. Emotional stability keeps a person moving forward when excitement fades and challenges multiply. Personal advancement is not only about external success, it is about internal maturity. Without maturity, success becomes overwhelming. Discipline ensures that growth is sustainable. It prepares a person to handle influence without losing integrity. It builds the character necessary to sustain achievement over time. Advancement without discipline creates stress, while advancement with discipline creates fulfillment. When emotional discipline is present, progress accelerates naturally. Decisions become clearer. Relationships strengthen. Opportunities increase because people trust consistency. Leaders emerge because others feel safe around those who are emotionally grounded. Discipline does not limit expression. It refines it. It channels emotion into purpose rather than allowing it to spill into destruction. Ultimately, emotional discipline is not a restriction. It is preparation. It equips a person to rise without falling apart. Advancement comes to those who can handle it. Before life elevates you, it tests your stability. Those who master their emotions earn the right to move forward. Personal advancement does not begin with opportunity, it begins with control. When emotions are disciplined, progress is inevitable and sustainable. When you stop reacting, you stop being predictable. And predictability is one of the greatest vulnerabilities a person can have. Most people respond the same way every time they are pressured, criticized, or challenged. Their emotional patterns become familiar. And once those patterns are known, they can be exploited. Predictability hands others a map to your behavior. The moment you break that pattern by refusing to react, you reclaim power and disrupt the expectations that once controlled you. Reaction is mechanical. It follows habit rather than thought. When someone knows that criticism makes you angry, silence makes you anxious, or delay makes you frustrated, they can influence your behavior without effort. Your reactions become buttons waiting to be pressed. Predictability does not come from weakness. It comes from lack of awareness. People are often unaware of how consistently they respond emotionally to the same stimuli. When awareness arrives, change becomes possible. Stopping reaction introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty shifts control. When you pause instead of responding immediately, you interrupt the script others expect you to follow. Silence where there was once anger, calm where there was once defensiveness, and patience where there was once panic forces others to adjust. They no longer know how to provoke, manipulate, or distract you. This unpredictability is not chaotic. It is deliberate. It is the result of self-mastery. When you stop reacting, your decisions stop being emotional and start being strategic. Strategy cannot exist in a reactive state. Reaction narrows vision, but restraint expands it. You begin to observe rather than participate blindly. You notice motives, patterns, and consequences. This awareness allows you to choose responses that serve long-term goals instead of short-term emotional relief. Predictability fades because your actions are no longer driven by impulse, but by intention. Unpredictability rooted in calmness commands respect. People are unsettled not by loud reactions, but by controlled silence. A person who does not react is difficult to read, not because they are hiding, but because they are not leaking emotions unnecessarily. This creates a sense of authority. It signals that your behavior is governed internally, not triggered externally. Others recognize that they cannot control you through pressure. Stopping reaction also transforms internal experience. Emotional exhaustion decreases because you are no longer responding to every stimulus. Mental clarity increases because your energy is not scattered. Confidence deepens because you are not dependent on validation or defense. You become comfortable with not explaining yourself. This internal stability reinforces external unpredictability because your peace does not shift with circumstances. Predictability often keeps people stuck in the same cycles, same triggers, same responses, same outcomes. Breaking reaction breaks the cycle. New responses create new results. Relationships change. Conflicts lose intensity. Opportunities appear because you are no longer entangled in emotional noise. Growth accelerates because your focus is no longer compromised. This does not mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you become selective. You choose when to speak, when to act, and when to remain silent. Your responses are measured, not withheld. This selectivity makes your actions impactful. When you do respond, it carries weight because it is rare and intentional. When you stop reacting, you stop being predictable. And when you stop being predictable, you stop being controllable. You move from instinct to intelligence, from impulse to authority. Life no longer pushes you around because you are no longer moving on automatic. You are present, aware, and in command. In that mastery, true freedom emerges, not freedom from challenges, but freedom from being governed by them.